well, very much for being here today, and appreciate the press. Appreciate your indulgence in scooting us back 30 minutes. Just in the way of explanation, I was in my airplane with very low ceilings in Hobbs, fighting weather all the way up here, and on takeoff row, and the only time in 50 years of flying that I actually had to abort, I had an alternator failure just at liftoff, and so I had to try to figure out how to get the thing stopped before running off the end of the runway. I've been in the weather before without an alternator, and I was not wanting to do that again. And it's a very nerve-wracking thing. So we jumped in the car. Senator Gallegos got us up here pretty well on time, so thanks to him. Again, we're here for maybe the most important issue of our lifetime. The issue is one person above the law. I think we're here with the demonstration that no one is above the law, but I want to recognize our other speakers first. We've got John Rockwell. He is the chair of the Bernalillo County Party and just a tenacious fighter for freedom and liberty. He's going to speak. After him will be Jay Block, former commissioner in Sandoval County, and again, someone that I know personally will fight for liberty every day. Senator Gallegos, again, you know him well. Then I'll take and speak after those three. So, John Rockwell, thanks for your leadership here in Bernalillo County, and step forward.
Well, following the law is a very important thing, and we don't find much of that in our current government. In our governor or in our mayor, either one. So we've got plenty of law-abiding citizens that would like to protect themselves, protect their family. Our governor's saying no. It's just fine to have folks living on the streets, just fine to be a sanctuary city, invite everybody to come here, particularly the drug gangs. We've had about enough of this kind of government. We've got to have a new government soon.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay Block, Sandoval County. You know, the governor, in her 5 years, 4.5 years in office, she has closed our schools, prevented us from going to church, closed our businesses, and now here she is taking away our Second Amendment rights. And we cannot let this stand. You know, the public health emergency is really on the southern border. And when the governor took office, she took our National Guard away from the southern border. So now we have fentanyl and drugs that are destroying our families, and now we have high crime, and the governor, once again, didn't do anything in her first term with the incredible crime bills that died in committee put forward by Republicans like Bill Ream and Stephanie Lord and so many others, and Senator Gallegos. The governor did nothing. And now here she is grabbing for more power. And the beauty of this is not about Republicans or Democrats or independents. Even the highest law enforcement official in New Mexico, the Attorney General, has said he will not defend her. And I want to thank Attorney General Torres, D.A. Bregman, who came out against her. Also, Sheriff Allen here in Bernalillo County, who did the right thing. Multiple state reps and senators are coming out against the governor. Democrats, by the way. That is us coming together as Constitution-loving Americans, unlike this governor, which is why I support the articles of impeachment against the governor. And I ask the governor to resign. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I also want to thank you for being here. I was with Congressman Pierce or Chairman Pierce on the way up here. We had a lot of good time to talk. It's somewhere around 325 miles from Eunice to here. But one of the things that just kept coming to mind for me is if the problem here in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County is the violence. She's talking about the shootings and the violence here. Why would she, using her statement, says the governor says she didn't expect criminals to follow the order. If it's about crime, and she's had opportunity, Chairman Block was talking, Commissioner Block was talking, we've had opportunity in Santa Fe to fix these things. She's not willing. But now she's making a point to take away the law-abiding citizens' sidearms, their firearms, what they use to protect their families. I just want to give you a briefing of what we're doing. So I know that we've got 3 to 4 lawsuits already being filed. The House Republican caucus and the Senate Republican caucus have their own. We're hoping to merge everybody to have one huge voice against the governor. We in Lee County are starting to look at ordinances to protect our communities and our county. And we're hoping that'll go across the state. And then you have Representative Lord and Block that are actually starting the impeachment process. I think that it's going to take all of these and all of you to be able to stand up against the governor and say, we've had enough. New Mexico is better than this. New Mexico right now is being looked at by the whole country and probably the world in a really, really bad light. So I ask you to continue the fight with us so that we can protect every New Mexican in the state, not just the one on the 4th floor of the Capitol. Thank you.
The Republican Party of New Mexico will drop tomorrow the lawsuit against the governor. Somebody has to be a voice for the people, and we will do that. Now, our lawyer has said there will be many people going after the shiny object. That is the Second Amendment. He said that's going to get overturned immediately. But he said the bigger problem is her mandate that she claims gives her the right to violate the Constitution. I don't want anybody to move, but I want to see if we can run that video over here. It's 25 seconds.
Everything is a public health
Turn it
issue.
up.
Gun violence is a public health issue. Poverty is a public health issue. Environmental consequences from energy is a public health issue. All of these disenfranchised populations, all of the equity barriers are all public health issues. And when we address those, our economy is better, our families are stronger, our risks are fewer.
Do you hear what she's saying? That gun violence is a health problem, and she has now invoked an executive order based on a public health order. But she also says environmental consequences. She should be able to shut down oil and gas production. At that point, teachers in this state take a 50% pay cut because oil and gas provides 50% of the tax base of this state, and she has no way to replace it. She also says that she can take your paycheck. She can take your savings account in order to have equity in our financial status. Is that the country we want to live in? No. I have traveled in totalitarian countries. I've traveled in Russia. I've traveled in China. I gave a speech to the parliament in Belarus where they were trying to get loose from totalitarianism and move toward freedom. And I will tell you, having seen totalitarian up close, this action by the governor speaks of totalitarianism right here in this country and in this state, and we will not stand for it. The governor says she has the right to disobey the Constitution, that it doesn't apply in all circumstances. I would beg to disagree with her. A Constitution is merely a contract. This contract of the Constitution our founding fathers set up as a contract between the people and the government. Always in a contract, the lesser party is protected and the more powerful party has its rights limited. In every contract, the wealthy, the strong, the powerful never need a contract. If you want to build a house, you're going to get a contract with the person going to build it. You're the lesser party. He doesn't need the contract. You need when he puts in bad things. So our Constitution was set up to protect our rights. The First Amendment is this right that we're expressing right here, the right to assemble without being impeded by the government. If she can stop the gun rights, she can stop us from gathering. That same First Amendment is your right of the press to be able to speak plainly to the people. If she can take away the gun rights, she can take away the power of the press. If she can take away that, she can take away the power of our ability to worship the way that we want to. The Constitution limits the power of the federal government. It limits her power. And she says plainly over and over that there are exceptions to the Constitution. I'm sorry, the exceptions have to be written into contracts. They can't be just thrown in there by some governor that wants to prove her power to the entire world. I'm sorry, but I'm standing four square with a group that wants to impeach her. She should be out of office right now. We can't just say the governor, she could not have done what she did without 2 signatures. The Secretary of Health was required to sign a signature. Let me tell you a little bit about Patrick Allen's background. He was just until January of this year the Secretary of Health in Oregon. The incoming Democrat governor said she was going to fire him because he didn't provide adequate health services to Oregon. He resigned, and we got him here. Why do we need somebody that was going to get fired in Oregon to come down here and sign executive orders that violate the Constitution? I call on the Secretary of Health to resign or be removed by the legislature. Get him out of here. In addition, the reports were that he was failing in his in one of his missions to provide education to the students during the pandemic, that Oregonians suffered more than any others. We already have the 51st state in education in the entire nation, even behind the District of Columbia, and she brings in somebody to help make it worse. I don't think that we need Patrick Allen in the state. Send him back to Oregon, find a New Mexican to run the health. Our lawsuit doesn't just deal with, again, the guns. It's going to deal with her ability to use these health orders and executive orders. Our lawyer has said it is a very difficult case to win. We have taken the governor to task and taken her to the Supreme Court of New Mexico when she closed down small businesses. You remember she left the big box stores open, and she had told small businesses you have to shut down. That fit a national narrative. They don't want small, independent, local businesses because they're hard to control. They can control one person at the top of these major corporations. And so we took her to suit. That's the only one that, the only lawsuit that we failed in, and the 7 or 8 that I've been participating in going to the Supreme Court. 7 out of the 8 cases that we've taken up there have been successful. I believe this is going to be successful. I believe the Supreme Court here in New Mexico is going to agree with us that there are limits to everyone's power, even the governor's power, even the president's power. No one is above the law, and that's our message today to the governor. You are not above the law, governor. We also have a message that people are coming together. I just got a report from our booth, our fair booth out at the state fairgrounds, and they said people are clustering. They don't care what registration, they don't care what nationality, they don't care what religion. They're there to protect freedom. They're there to sign up, to volunteer, to be something, to take a part, to defend the freedoms and liberty that we were guaranteed when we got into the So this is not about Republicans. We will take the lead because we're called to take the lead. But know that we're not alone. This is all Americans, this is all New Mexicans standing up against the totalitarianism of this governor. And if she thinks the fight is over now, just wait until we get into that legislative session and the legislature begins to have to wrestle with the question, are we going to impeach or not? You're going to find people showing up there, you're going to find people demonstrating, and we'll see again that she wants to limit our power to gather together. Governor, that's another one of our freedoms, the First Amendment to the Constitution. Yes, and we're going to demand that when it comes time to speak to the legislative body about removing you from the office in which you hold today. So I appreciate everyone being here today. I appreciate our speakers, and I appreciate this group of people who love freedom enough to show up on a rainy day here in Albuquerque to listen to a couple of us speak too long. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it. And we're going to go to questions. We'll go to questions, and Ash, if you'll recognize the questions, you know who's here. All right.
No, I don't know what's going on in the governor's mind, but I suspect she, in her calculus, knows that she would likely have this swatted down. But she's got your attention, and she certainly wants to talk about this issue of gun violence. So what is the solution in your mind?
If you're going to talk about gun violence, then go after the people that are doing the violent acts with guns. If you took every single murder in the last 10 years in Albuquerque, I'll bet less than 10%, less than 1% are concealed carry. Most of the people shooting folks are brandishing weapons openly. The people who are walking into restaurants and taking food off of diners' tables, the people who are breaking into stores and stealing and carrying out, Those are the people you attack. You don't attack the law-abiding citizens first. And then would you cause for the FBI to come in here? Are you kidding me? You tell the police that they can't do the job. You want to defund the police. You say you're going to redesign the task that they're up against. And then you expect crime to dissipate. You turn criminals loose 6, 8, 9 times without putting them in jail for infractions. And you expect them to ever think that the law is going to apply to them. That's where you begin. Begin with the criminals. Don't begin with the law-abiding citizens.
APD and Mayor Keller today called for a special session to address crime and gun. Do you think, would that be something you support, and do you think it could be a productive special session?
Look, all of us want special sessions to work, but they turned down every single crime bill in the past 2 or 3 sessions. So what are they going to do? Go up there and rubber stamp something? The mayor doesn't need a special session. What the mayor needs to do is support law enforcement and put criminals in jail. That's what the mayor needs to do.
Do you have any other questions?
What will it take to overturn Daniel's law? That's the one that sets the criminals free. That's why we have no bondsmen to date.
Again, you recall that the whole process in that particular question to get the courts to turn people loose had to be put in front of the people in multiple different fashions and different words because the people turned it down. But they kept jockeying with the words, and so the legislative body intended to fool the people, and now they're saying, well, I just didn't know I was going to do that. I'm sorry. We see it happening in every single state. We see the crime that's happening because criminals get released over and over again. And I'm just saying to people, if you want Daniels overturned, you're going to have to elect different representatives. You're going to have to elect people who are committed to changing the things that are causing the crime. You have to change that. We're going to keep going as long as we need to. All right? Okay. You can still recognize them, but I'm running the show.
I don't know if we have any more from the press.
Yeah, I got one more.
Yeah.
So we heard from a constitutional law expert over the weekend about efforts to potentially get an emergency stay on this order. Is that something in the works, or can you tell me a little bit more about the mechanism of this lawsuit?
Why should we need an emergency stay to protect the Constitution of the United States? I think they just need to whack this thing down and send her packing. That's what I think. She wants to go to D.C., fine. Let's give her a ticket. Other questions?
Do you have any questions from the press? From the press.
All right, yes, okay.
Hi, just to piggyback off, I'm sorry, what's your name?
John.
John, sorry, just to piggyback off what John said, because that was also my concern in regards to gun violence and crime bills that,
way too long.
and crime bills that were not passed. I know that was a huge concern as well, but just what's the underlying issue? Like, how do you guys find the middle ground? I know you guys are asking for her impeachment, but do you feel like that's the only solution at this point? Because she did say that it's a temporary ban, it's a cooling period.
You do not temporarily stop liberty. Liberty never stops. It's written into the Constitution. She did not have the right to do it at all. So the fact that, oh, well, it's just temporary. I'm sorry that's a game that's being played, because you hear her on her speech saying that she's going to use it to stop poverty. She's going to use it to stop this, stop that. You cannot suspend the Constitution no matter how noble your intent is. And believe me, I do not think her intent is noble. I think her intent is to take rights away from law-abiding citizens, to take their savings accounts away, to redirect it, to take their pensions away. That's where this agenda is going that she mentioned to the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, or to the Health Institute at Johns Hopkins. So I think that she gave us the roadmap that she intends to implement. So the idea is temporary. That means that she wants to, if it's too hot, then she'll pull it out of the stove and wait till people calm down and stick it back in. I think that we must act today and say, never again, Governor, will you violate the Constitution. Just a second. Let her.
I'm sorry, can you hear me? Just to carry on with what you're saying, because I know a couple years ago when the public health emergency order happened with COVID,
You're gonna have to speak up, just, I'm sorry.
COVID, the temporary health emergency order with COVID, right? And I'm just asking to just be direct. Is there an underlying fear to think that it may be extended, this public health order? Because that's what we're
Absolutely. Yeah,
The election variant is too much.
There is obviously a fear that it will be extended, but the greater fear is that it is implemented at all. That somebody would have the arrogance to say the Constitution does not apply to me all the time, that I have the right. She says those words, and I think that we need to hold her account for those words. That's the biggest fear, that she even had the idea that she could bridge the Constitution, that it did not apply. Sure, there's the idea that it's going to be used further. That's the reason our lawsuit is going not only after the Second Amendment protection, but it is digging down to that health order that she claims is the right. That is not the right to take away anybody's freedom. It is not the right to abridge any constitutional provision, and we are going to take that. It's a very difficult case that our lawyer has said, but that is where we are headed, because we must deal with this question in this country right now. We can't allow this thought process to take seed.
Yes.
Amen.
All right. Yes.
So you mentioned earlier about a possible middle ground is focusing on getting criminals behind bars. However, in the public health order, 2 of the specific cases mentioned involved children that were killed by teenagers that got their hands on guns. Do you have any comment on those concerns involving those cases?
So if the question is, were these teenagers concealed carry holders? I don't think so. Yeah, if you want us to research, I'm sure I got somebody behind me who will research, and I think you'll find that none of the ones that are being held accountable were concealed carry holders. They're the people who are following the law. They're the ones who get their permits. They go through classes. The criminals don't care. They're not going to follow the law. And then, as Senator Gallego said, she doesn't expect the criminals to follow this anyway. Why the heck do you take away liberties when you know that it's not going to affect the people who are doing the killing? I don't understand that thought process. And again, I think it's about the agenda. One more question, 2 more, I'll see, yeah.
The governor stated on social media when she was questioned about the order that open carry and concealed carry is within her jurisdiction under state law. Just curious what your reaction to that is, and if that'll be included in your lawsuit.
Yeah, your question is, what's my position on open carry, concealed carry?
Just your reaction to the governor saying that those laws are within her jurisdiction because they're state laws, and if you're going to be looking at that in the lawsuit.
The U.S. Constitution and the Mexico Constitution protect those rights, and we're going to insist that those rights be protected.
Yes.
Is there one more question?
All right, one more question. I'm sorry, but we're really asking. I have to deal with her later. But if you don't have any questions, you need to go ahead and ask them, or I'm going to have to.
What about the weaponization of the state police? Is there anything
Just
being
from the
done?
press.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions from the press?
We have a social media request here.
Yes. One of the signatures that we didn't talk about was our Secretary of State signing off on this unconstitutional order. Are we going to go after her? Because she needs to be held responsible as well.
Yes.
Yes. In a situation like this, the more targets mean the less effective the effort, because the public needs to know exactly what the targets are. And so there may be a time to deal with that, but right now we have a far greater urgency to deal with, and we're going to deal with that urgency first, and that's the governor feeling like she does not have to obey the Constitution at all times. The Constitution doesn't take a nap. It doesn't go to sleep at night. It is here to protect the people, the weaker party in that contract between government and people. And everything written in there is designed to protect the rights of the people. If you go to the 10th Amendment, they were afraid that the other amendments would not be clear enough. So in the 10th Amendment, they say everything not given to the government is reserved to the states and the people which apply. And so understand that our founding fathers were afraid of exactly what's happening here. They just didn't think it was going to be the governor of New Mexico doing it. You never can imagine what anomalies are laying out there. But we're here to stand our ground, because we're just as passionate. We as New Mexico Mexicans are just as passionate about our freedom as the founding fathers were when they came here and created this country. They came to get away from the kings in Europe, the kings who could tell you what job you're going to have, what education you're going to have, what level in society you could be, who you would marry, everything. The kings could tell you everything. People said, we just want to breathe. We want to be free. We want to come here. We want to join a different church than the Church of England or the Church of the State. And they came here and founded the most magnificent country in human history. And we are not going to let the governor of New Mexico stand in the way of that magnificence. We will contest this to the very end. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.